Welcome everybody, it's Haneli Wellman. I'm your certified high performance coach in today's webinar, and we're going to talk about the 6 secrets of the world's most successful people. Now imagine if you're listening to this webinar, you're already somebody who's striving to be your best. You're trying to gain and create greater abundance and joy and love and connection and contribution in life. But sometimes getting to that next level of success is difficult. You've got your own bad habits and your own fears, your own judgments, and you've dealt with a lot of difficulties in your life, just like lots of other folks have. But you're looking for that new edge. You're looking for that next level. You're looking for some strategies, some habits, some things that you can do on a daily or weekly basis to really transform the quality of your life. So I'm thrilled to be here with you and to talk about what we have learned about the secrets of the world's most successful people. Our agenda today on this webinar is to talk about why is it most people fail. Because if we can figure out that, obviously we can get you some success and momentum. We'll talk about the science of high performance, because reaching long-term success is possible, and reaching long-term success where you actually still take care of your health and still have positive relationships around you is possible. And there is a true art and science behind that. I'll be sharing with you from one of the world's largest studies ever done on high performance. The good news is there are strategies there you can implement, and there will be questions that I'll ask you in this webinar that will help you grow and really get insight into how you can reach the next level without so much burnout or frustration or challenge. And you'll learn that right here in today's webinar. We'll talk about the surprising results that I've had. I'm not here to brag or here to try to convince you of anything. I'm here to suggest that maybe there are some new ways for you to approach your day, your week, your month, your quarter, your year, your relationships, and some new ways to think about yourself and your own ability to get ahead that I certainly learned that have helped me tremendously. So I'm thrilled to have you here. Then I'll break it all down for you into what we call the 6 pillars of high performance, so you know specifically where you need to focus right now. I'll give you a game plan of how you might be able to go to the next level and how maybe I can support you there, and also reward everybody for being here, for taking time out of your busy schedule to commit to your own self-mastery. I cheer you on, I celebrate that. So at the end, for those who stay and for those who are really dedicated, I'm going to offer a nice giveaway just as my thanks for you being here. A little bonus gift that you probably didn't even know you were getting, but I love to reward my students with. That will be at the end. You have to be here at the end for the giveaway. So do yourself a favor, bust out your journal, get a pen and paper, and get ready to learn a lot about yourself and about how you can finally break through to the next level. Because it's not always easy, and I know you know that. So our quest today is to ask, what do the world's highest performing, most successful, most fulfilled people do differently? Clearly, not a day goes by where you don't see somebody on Instagram or Facebook or at your workplace or out in your neighborhood who seemingly might have it easier. They might have more wealth, a better car, a better career. You might know that they've achieved things a little beyond where you're at. And that's not saying anything negative. It's just that there's a lot of different levels of people in terms of their achievements, accomplishments, wealth, and influence. And we're always in that mix. Out of 7 billion people, we're all struggling to get ahead. But what is it that those are at the top levels, the top 15, are doing differently? It's probably not necessarily always where they're from or how lucky they are. Maybe they have some different approaches to life and career that generated a different quality of experience or a higher level of wealth or influence or happiness. Our quest is to figure out what it is together. So get your journal ready again. We'll be covering that. I'd like to talk about the fact that it's not an easy task to succeed at the next level. You already know that. Otherwise, you'd be at the highest level that you could be at. But you're striving, you're working hard, just like we are. And we realize that there's really 3 huge, awful, debilitating problems that people face. It's why it's not easy to get ahead. And it's because we face these types of things. We face things like fear. We want to put ourselves out there more. We want to take that risk. We want to try that new business opportunity. We want to hire that team. We want to go for it. We want to ask her. We want to seek investment. We want to get support. But putting ourselves out there and showing up consistently as our most courageous self, we know that's not always easy. Because sometimes we have stories in our head that don't support us. Sometimes we had some things happen to us in the past that prevent us from really going forward today. Sometimes in facing the unknown, we fall to the back of our heels and we don't push as hard as we know we should do or could do, or as much as our family and team really needs us, because we're worried about what will happen if we really go for it and we fail, or we lose reputation, or we can't handle the struggle, or we go through all the effort and it doesn't turn out well. These are real concerns that people face on a daily basis. I know that's crazy and that's scary. It's scary when your back is against a wall, when you don't have the finances you need. I know that it's scary when you have a lot of obligations and you feel stressed and overwhelmed. I know it's scary when you wake up to face a day and you think, oh my gosh, I've got to do this again. I know it's scary when you don't know how things are going to turn out, but you've invested so much time, energy, and effort into this. I know it's scary when you might not have the support of your spouse, or some people in your neighborhood, or some people at work. Fear is a real thing, and we've got to deal with that on an hourly, daily, weekly basis, no doubt. High performers have figured out how to deal with that, and we're going to talk about some things you can do in your psychology that might help with that. It's a big issue, and one of the things I focus on as a coach is making sure that people deal with this, that they're conscious of it, that they know where it's stopping them, and that they face it as their best self. I focus on making sure that they show up more consistently as their most courageous self, and I know that's something you're working towards doing. I celebrate you for being here on this webinar today. We know another huge, awful, debilitating problem people face is fatigue. A lot of people burn out on their way towards climbing that mountain. They work super hard, they get a lot of momentum, and then they make it about halfway up the mountain, and then they're done. They're overwhelmed, they're stressed, so they get irritable with their family. They stop feeling like they can make it through the day. They don't feel like they have a mental alertness or mental focus, or literally the physical energy. But sometimes fatigue isn't that you didn't sleep enough last night. Though a lot of people don't take care of their physical body. We'll talk about that too. High performance definitely demands a lot of energy, as you'll learn. But a lot of people are not just physically fatigued because they don't work out. Or maybe they don't have the right nourishment, or they don't sleep, or maybe their kids are loud. A lot of people are emotionally fatigued. They are drained and have so much stress for so long. Or sometimes they don't have the momentum they wanted. Or maybe they have a lot of what they wanted, but brought to a lot more overwhelm, and they're juggling more than they thought. They're fatigued and they don't know how to handle it. High performers have to figure out how their psychology and their physiology can come together to help them deal with this issue. And we'll talk about that today. Because another huge, debilitating, awful problem is frustration. Well, you had this last one of frustration, where maybe you feel like you've been beating your head against the wall in the last couple of months, and you're not experiencing the momentum towards your goals that you deserve. that you're doing a lot of things, but they're not paying off right now. And it's making you restless. It's making you question where you are. It's making you frustrated with other people around you, so it's hurting your relationships. We have to talk about fear, fatigue, and frustration. I talk a lot about this as a certified high performance coach. I deal with these issues on a day-to-day basis with real people. It's my job. And that's why I'm going to talk about this in the webinar. And that's why I do this webinar with you. I hope to provide some insights to help you deal with these awful problems and get ahead, because you deserve it. So I celebrate you again for being here, because I know that these are not positive things to talk about. But let's work through some of them, and let's really discern what makes a difference in you moving ahead. So what I'd like to do is ask, how do the world's most successful people overcome that fear and fatigue and frustration, and then implement the right strategies and habits to dramatically advance their lives and careers? How did they do all that? Well, it's kind of like this. It's really about mastering what we call high performance practices or habits. And before I tell you about those things, just a couple of simple things. Since we're on the webinar together, some housekeeping items for us, so you stay with me and do the work with me. Make sure again you have your journal, but also please note that there's no replay today. I'm going to really do some deep work with you. I'm here with you, so bust out your journal. Let's do some work. There's no replay. Dedicate yourself. Maybe you've dealt with some of these issues I've talked about, and maybe I've struck a chord with you, so you're here for a reason. Trust in that. Let's do the work. Okay, there will be a question and answer format at the end where I'll take some questions and ask you some questions as well. Also, I'll make sure I do that giveaway for those who make it to the end, because I want to celebrate those who really care about self-mastery, who really decided that this is their time in life and that they need to advance. I wish I could give you a double high five for being here. And yes, you can post questions in the chat while here at this webinar. I just want you to know I might not see them until the end, because I'm really going to focus on teaching and training and asking the tough questions. So let's get to work. I want you to know that any skepticism you have right now of me or this process is totally okay. It's totally cool to question anything I say, actually. I would love for you to ask if this is true or important in your life right now. So if I share an idea with you, ask yourself, is it true based on what I know? And is it important in my life right now? Also ask yourself, what would happen if I really focused on this area? Because in personal development, we can talk about tons of different areas. We're really going to hone in on those that are proven by research to really move the needle and that really matter. And so I want you to really explore each of these areas we bring up. And also think beyond yourself. Ask yourself, how might improvement in these areas help me, as well as my family, as well as my team, my career, my mission, and my overall life goals? Because personal and professional development should be approached holistically. And you and I both know a lot of people who succeeded at their career, but it was at the cost of their marriage, or their relationship with their kids, or their health, or their own true personal fulfillment and path. They did it because it was a job, and they did it and it was okay, but they didn't feel alive. So let's think holistically. I would really appreciate if you'd stay open to maybe some new ways of getting ahead, because while your current thinking and current behavior got you this far, what will get you to the next level is sometimes changing up that mindset, adding some new habits, and approaching life in a new, courageous manner. Obviously, we've got to do some work to get there. So let's follow the process. Trust me, trust the process, and let's see where we end up at the end. So ask any questions you feel like along the way. So I want to let you know, this webinar and this process of high performance probably won't help people like this. It won't help the yeah guy who knows everything but doesn't have the discipline to truly implement with consistency and excellence. You've probably heard that phrase before. Common sense is not always common practice. So try not to be one of those people who says, yeah, I've heard this before. Listen, in personal, spiritual, and professional development, not a whole lot of new ideas are out there every single year. However, there's always new research. There's always new distinctions that really can move the needle. We all get caught up and we get busy. So no way is it real that every one of us is doing everything. I mean, you're not doing everything you can do to improve your life. True? So maybe I can add an element today to the most important areas that if you did focus there, you'd get the greatest bang for the buck. So be a yes person and listen today and be willing to apply instead of being the dismissive person. I think the people who are more disciplined than those who are dismissive get ahead. I would say also, this webinar will probably not help the excuse guy who always finds a reason not to take action. If you make a suggestion for someone to take action, the excuse guy would say, well, you don't understand my community, or you don't understand where I'm at, or you don't understand this. But when the advice is good, we get into trouble there. So just listen for what's true and what might help you versus thinking about 50 other contexts that might not be true. What matters is if you focus in this specific area, would it move the needle for you? Not where you have been or a super specific thing about yourself, because the reality is sometimes it's just important to get moving again. Isn't it true? The third type of person, this isn't for the fear guy who won't try new things and who just says, well, this is the way it's always been going. Nothing will ever change. They mask their certainty that nothing will ever change when the truth is they're just scared. And like I said, fear is a big issue for a lot of people. So I just want to show I'm cheering you on no matter where you're at. The last person it won't help is the person who says, I don't want change, and who's strapped in today. Because ultimately, if you're really going to reach the next level, you have to have the ambition to go to the next level. You have to be the person who says, I want change. I'm looking for transformation. I'm open to my breakthrough. I'm excited about discovering something new. And if you're that person, this will help you. So let's get back to our quest. What do the world's highest performing, most successful, most fulfilled people do differently? Well, let's talk about what they're not doing, okay, what's not working. I know what they're not doing is certainly following the same old advice, because you've already probably heard some of the old advice. Hey, just start your dream. Hey, work hard. Hey, be passionate. Hey, focus on your strengths. Practice a lot. Be grateful. Stick to it. This is all good advice, right? But sometimes what leads to initial success is not sufficient for long-term success. Because you know what? Most people already did start. And they already did work hard. They are passionate. And they do care about what they're good at. And they do stick to it in that rut. And they practice, but they don't win championships. They're grateful, but they might not be as abundant or wealthy as they want. They've stuck to it, and sometimes they stuck to it for years at the cost of their own dreams and their own real desires. So it's not that this is bad advice and that is good advice. This advice gets a lot of people to level 1 success, but you want more than that. You've probably already tried many things before. I know a lot of people who do work hard and they are passionate, but they're broke. I know a lot of people who know what their strengths are, but they're in a rut because they're doing something that, yeah, maybe they were good at or they fell into, but they're not willing to challenge themselves to really go the next level, like you are. I know a lot of people who truly are soulfully, deeply grateful for life, but their family deserves and needs more. So sometimes this advice isn't sufficient, and so you have to ask then, well, how do you reach the next level and then beyond that? And how do you reach that next level of abundance and success while avoiding burnout and false obligations? And that's what I want to teach you today, because so many people fear going for the next level because they think, well, I can barely handle this one, I'll burn out. Or I don't go to the next level because if I go to the next level, then I'm going to have to do all these things, all these other things, and I'm going to owe all this to all these people. Remember that fear stuff we talked about. So I want you to know there is a way for you to go to the next level of abundance and success and joy and health without freaking yourself out, stressing yourself out, or experiencing overwhelm. And so, what I want to teach you today is based on one of the world's largest studies of high performers. And what I want to talk to you about is the science of high performance. Let's get into it. Let's dive into what we know. If you've heard about this study before, it was conducted by a guy named Brendon Burchard, and he's the CEO of High Performance Institute. He wrote a book called High Performance Habits. And you probably know Brendon. He's a 3-time New York Times best-selling author. He's the CEO of High Performance Institute. He's got 10 million fans on Facebook, 200 million video views of his personal and professional development programs. He's ranked one of the most influential leaders in personal growth by Oprah Winfrey Network and Success Magazine. He's named the world's leading high-performance coach by Forbes.com. And I share with you this because obviously these results helped get him on the cover of Success Magazine, and he's also a person who certified me in my high-performance work. While during the study that he conducted at the High Performance Institute, he began to answer these questions. Why is it that some individuals and teams succeed more quickly than others, and they sustained the success over the long term? Of those who pull it off, why are some miserable and others happy on their journey? I'm sure you know some people who succeed, but they're jerks, and other people who are actually truly grateful. And what motivates people to reach for higher levels of success in the first place, and what kinds of habits, training, and support help them continue and improve? This is what began the study. People were trying to figure this out in the psychology of what they call performance psychology. And it's what Brendon has focused on a lot of his career, as well as the High Performance Institute has focused on as well. And so what they did is they went out and they conducted global surveys and structured one-on-one interviews. They ran a bunch of data analytics from over 1 million high-performance indicator assessment data points and over 300,000 organizational employees in their partner organizations participated in the studies. They've had over 1.6 million online students. They have 2 million newsletter subscribers, over 10 million Facebook followers, and over 100 million video views and comments. They ran all that data and compared it to academic literature reviews. They had coaching insights from over 3,000 high-performance coaching sessions, and then they had empirical results from actual training interventions. And they combined all of that to basically take a look at over 100 different performance variables. And they asked, well, which performance variables help people achieve long-term success the most? And all of those 100 performance variables, they really looked at habits because they wanted to see, can we actually witness what makes people successful? So they said, are these habits deliberate? Meaning, are the people who are successful doing these habits on purpose? Can we observe it? Are the habits malleable? Meaning, they can change and people can improve upon them. Can you train these habits? Are these habits effective across domains? And out of over 100 different performance variables, they identified 6 habits that mattered the most to long-term success. These were commonly called the high-performance habits. They found that in a person's personal life, they had to consistently seek clarity about who they are and what they wanted to achieve. They had to generate the energy sufficient to succeed. They had to raise the necessity, which is a way of saying they had to make sure that they were constantly raising the bar of their own motivation. They had to know their why and really go after it. They had to make success necessary. In their social lives, they were being very productive in the careers, the projects, or the fields that mattered the most for them. They did develop influence with other people around them, and they had to demonstrate courage. This was like the big picture of what they found. But of course, they had to define it and go deeper. And they basically found that high performance can be identified this way. It's about succeeding beyond standard norms. So first, you have to know where you are and what it would mean to succeed beyond where you are right now. Consistently over the long term means that high performers were very consistent in their behaviors and their habits over the long term. And while they were succeeding, they maintained well-being and positive relationships. So if you're somebody who thinks, I have to succeed and compromise my health and my relationships, that's just not true. And here's what they basically said high performance felt like. This is what high performers reported. They said, high performers feel like they are fully engaged at what they're doing. They have a lot of joy and bring a lot of joy to what they're doing. They have confidence, and all that really comes from giving their absolute best. And I know you know this. When you feel like you're giving your absolute best, I bet you feel like you're engaged in the moment, you're having fun, and you're confident in who you are. So the question, of course, is, how do you get there? So let's talk about that. The findings are not what most people think. They found that high performance is not strongly correlated with age, gender, nationality, intelligence, personality, strengths, creativity, empathy, years of experience, or compensation. It doesn't mean that these things weren't important, and that it didn't mean that these things don't obviously affect people's lives, affect their personality, affect some levels of their success. It just meant that these things weren't as strongly correlated with the long-term success as other things. And that's really important to know because, as I said, let's talk about how to get to high performance. When we start talking about that, some people say, well, I'm not creative enough, or I'm not smart enough, or I don't have these strengths, or I'm an introvert, or I've only been doing this for X number of years. I don't get paid enough, or I'm too old. And all those things end up not really being that important when it comes to you reaching the next level of success. Meaning all these things can actually be overcome even if you identify them as a deficit, because there are other things that lead to high performance, like those habits that we talked about. But often people think it's just about their strength. So I want to cover that too, because it's not all about strength. I mean, you can have all the strengths in the world, but without the right habits, you might not get anything done. But good news is high performers don't report working on their strengths any more than any other people do. The question they ask is less often, who am I and what am I good at? And more often, what is required to be of service here? And how can I grow into that or lead others to deliver that service? And so this is important for you to know right now. And you might even write that down, because your next level begins not with saying, what am I really good at? Or where am I from? Or how was I born? Instead, the question is, what's required of me to serve at the next level? And how can I grow into that? And I know that's why you're on this webinar. Again, double high five to you. I celebrate you for being here, because listen, the question you're asking is really intelligent, which is, how can I grow into that next level of service? You're not just asking yourself, how can I do what I've been doing, or what am I good at? The question is, what is necessary for you to succeed at the next level? That's why you're here. So I appreciate that and I celebrate you. So with this all this research behind us, the question remains, well, so what? The real questions, once you know all that research, still revert to these types of questions. How did high performers actually get that way? How did they develop those habits in the first place? And how do they keep growing and succeed over the long term? That's what I promised to share with you. I want to share with you the 6 pillars of high performance and what they did. I'd love to tell you about my story first and my results, and then we'll talk about the game plan. I'll get back to that giveaway. I hope this gave you a good overview of some of the things we've learned in high performance, but let's keep digging down. As I go in, I'd love to tell you a little more about myself. This is, on the left-hand side, this photo. This is me and my husband and my 2 teenage kids. This was in June 2023 during the school holiday. We took a road trip with a camper van up to New Zealand's North Island and went all the way up to Cape Reinga. We always prioritized family time and holidays and any opportunity to make memories. And on the right-hand side, this was Christmas that same year, where it was just the 3 of us left. My husband passed away in October 2023, suddenly, and that just changed our lives forever. Because since a young girl, I always just wanted to be a mum, and I was always praying for a husband one day that will be a very good father to my kids and a good husband to me, and that is what I got. And we had 21 years of such an amazing time together, raised these 2 beautiful kids, and my son it was about 2 weeks before he turned 14, and my daughter was 16 when my husband passed away. So already that's a very challenging time for children in normal circumstances as they're dealing with adolescence. It was a very challenging time, and like I said, our whole world was just shattered. We just started doing our 5-year plan, my husband and I, because the kids were starting to hang out with their friends more and not really see us. And they did their own thing. So my husband and I were really at a time in our lives where we were reconnecting and building and planning our next year, our 3 years, our 5 years, our 10 years together, and what we were going to do. And then that day just fell apart. So it was a very traumatic event. My husband actually died in my arm while I was rushing to hospital driving. So it was a very traumatic event, and that kept playing over and over in my mind after when I had to walk out there without him for the first time into this world without him, my life partner, my soulmate, the love of my life. So that just changed everything for me, and I was, like I said, completely broken. And then I realized that I can't just sit in a corner and feel sorry for myself. I had these beautiful children that I had to lead, and I had to step up. So what happened is I watched a video, and I discovered Brendon Burchard. I saw him on a video, and what he said just changed my life. And I signed up for the high performance coaching, and that just transformed my life forever. So what I did is I took these 6 habits, the 6 high performance habits, and I started implementing it in my life and building those habits. And I will share with you how each and every one of these habits actually helped me in my life. So the awakening to me was that I had to step up. I had to now be not one parent, but I had to play the role of both parents now. My husband and I was such a great team. I used to be the the good cop and he used to be the bad cop. And now I didn't know exactly how to deal with this. I didn't know how to be good cop and bad cop, because I always felt like one of us has to keep that communication open, be that trusting person where they won't fear to talk to us. And we had that understanding between my husband and I that they will have the freedom to talk to me and not feel scared to share things with me, so that one of us always knows what's going on in their lives. And obviously we would share it as husband and wife, what was happening, and then he would know when to step in and when just to let it go. So we were really a team in raising the kids, and this was a huge challenge for me. I had to really think, okay, who am I now? Like, what is my situation now? What is the reality in my life right now? All of a sudden, I was a single parent, which I didn't anticipate. I was a single provider, which I didn't anticipate. So it was all these challenges. I was navigating my own grief, but I also had to support the kids with their grief journey. So I really had to find, who am I now? And then, what do I want to do, or what do I need to do? And what do I want the next chapter of my life to look like? So I really had to go and sit and think about these things. And how can I be strong enough for them and for myself? And how can I become more and make the best of the time I have? So those were all questions that I had to work through in my head. Then that is when I discovered the High Performance Habits from Brendon Burchard. So I watched a video. Somehow I can't even recall how I got to it, but I signed up for his webinar and I signed up for his coaching, and it just transformed my life. It transformed me. It really helped me to build from being completely broken and shattered to becoming who I am today. And I know it's a journey I'm becoming every day, but it really helped me to pick up the pieces and get my life in order and start moving forward. And in a moment I will discuss how each habit actually helped me in my journey, the 6 high performance habits. So first of all, it was clarity. Clarity was how I rediscovered who I am. So after my husband passed, I felt like I lost my identity and purpose. High performance coaching helped me to reconnect with my values and define the woman I wanted to become in this next chapter. So I was no longer focused on the situation and where I was at that moment, but who I wanted to become and to start building on that. And I gained clarity on how to show up daily for myself, for my children, in my relationships, for my future. And that was all because of the high performance habit clarity that I started implementing in my life. The next one was energy. I learned to recharge without guilt. I learned that I have to spend some time on myself. Because as a mother and a wife, sometimes you put yourself last, and then you don't become who you have the ability to become. I had to start spending some time on myself to ensure that I have the energy to become, to step into my best self, to handle everything that I had to handle, because grief drained me physically and emotionally. And I learned how to manage my energy through exercise, hydration, rest, breathing, and all that without feeling selfish, because I had the certain times in the day where I focused on it. It was in my calendar, and that's how I could do it. And this allowed me to be fully present with my kids, relationships, and work, and still pursue growth. And that's, I suppose, why I didn't feel selfish, because I could actually show up more for everyone that needed me, because I spent some time on me to practice that energy habit. Then necessity, how necessity changed my life, is I found a powerful reason why. I no longer had the luxury of coasting through life. I had to rise, not just for myself, but for my children who had already lost so much. high performance helped me to tap into a deeper sense of purpose and urgency, and really connect the what I had to do with the why I'm doing it to keep me motivated. Then productivity. I took back control of my time. When my husband passed away, I realized how important time was and how we were never guaranteed of the time we have left. So immediately when that happened, I just wanted to make the best of the time I have, and therefore I had to get more productive. So I was overwhelmed and scattered, trying to survive solo parenting and rebuilding our lives. All of a sudden, I was one parent that had to be everywhere. I had to do full-time work. I had to drive around the kids. I had to take one to netball, one to rugby. So this one wanted to go there, that one wanted to go there. I needed to survive my own grieving as well. So I had to get myself to places as well. So I really felt scattered trying to survive solo parenting and rebuilding our lives, and I felt like I was stretched very thin. So the habits taught me how to structure my day with intention and focus and what truly matters. And that, I suppose, is the biggest thing that I learned, was to set that intention, because journal. I started journaling and planning my day and planning my time so that I can get to everything I needed to get to. Where previously, before my husband passed, I just reacted to every day, where I shifted from reacting to every day to setting intention every day and putting in my schedule everything that mattered, that I wanted to get to. And I no longer wasted emotional or physical energy on things that weren't aligned with my mission. So high performance helped me to get clarity on my vision and how I was going to get to that, how I could align my daily little habits to get to that mission and to get to where I wanted to be. Then influence was something that I never really knew. I knew what it was, but when we broke it down in the high performance training, it really opened up what influence meant and how you actually influence people. So I learned to lead with love and purpose. I didn't want to survive. I wanted to inspire others who felt broken like I had. And I realized I had the power to do that. Now that that this coaching has broken down influence for me, I knew exactly the steps on how to influence people, how to inspire them, and how to be there for them and show up for them in a way that will motivate, inspire, and uplift them. So I discovered how to influence my kids, my community, and now my coaching clients through vulnerability, courage, and service. And influence, I realized, starts from the inside out. And then obviously the last high performance habit, courage. I really stepped into the unknown boldly. I had no choice. And this high performance coaching helped me to do that. It helped me to step into this unknown boldly. Becoming a widow meant facing fears I never imagined, financial, emotional, spiritual. And the courage meant stepping forward, building a business from scratch, owning my story, and intentionally growing my skills to create a new future. So I stopped hiding and I started showing up fully and courageously. Enough about me. Now you know some of my background and why I'm so passionate about it and credible to do this with some of the research. But again, those real questions remain. How did high performers get that way? How did they develop those habits? And how do they keep growing and succeeding over the long term? So let me come back to our agenda and jump into what we call the 6 pillars of high performance. Once you know these areas and do a deep dive into it, you'll know the 6 secrets of high performers worldwide. The answer of what high performers did is they sought breakthroughs, training, and coaching in 6 critical areas, what we call the high performance pillars. And so they had to master these areas. How do you get from where you are to where you want to go? It's by mastering these pillars of high performance. Number one is psychology. That's your mindset, your behavior. It's your thoughts, feelings, and actions, and why you do these things. It's physiology. It's about making sure you have the energy physically and are taking care of your physical body and health to be able to perform at your top levels. It's about being productive and mastering the area of productivity. It's about mastering the area of people. So developing the people skills you need in order to get people to believe in you, buy from you, support you, invest in you. It's about mastering your purpose, understanding what really brings you alive and staying on track. And it's about showing up in full presence every single day as your best self. I want to dive into each one of these areas to give you a flavor of what high performers are asking themselves, what they're working on, so that you can get your breakthrough. So you might draw this out in your journal as we go through this, because we're going to spend a little bit of time in each of these areas to give you your own breakthroughs right here in this webinar. And again, stay with me, because at the end we'll do some giveaways and I'll help you develop your own game plan so that you can see how this applies to you specifically. So okay, let's jump in. Let's see how you measure up and how fast you can dramatically improve. Let's take on that first area of psychology. Let me ask you a few questions in the area of psychology. So number one, am I living my truth? Do my thoughts serve me? Do I feel the confidence and joy I want at this stage of my life? These are some nice questions for examining your own psychology. Are you living your truth? Because ultimately, if you're not living your truth, then probably your thoughts are getting in your way. If you're not living your truth, then probably you don't have the confidence you deserve. If you're not living your truth, then probably you don't feel joyful about your life at this stage. So think about it for a moment. Are you living into your highest and best self? And if not, is it true that maybe some of your thoughts, feelings, or interpretations about life can be standing in the way? Isn't it true that sometimes our own negative thinking, or as we talked about it at the very top of this webinar, our own fears prevent us from living our best lives? Well, that's something to pay attention to, isn't it? We talk a lot about psychology in coaching. It's one of the things I work on with people in full sessions. We just dive deep into how they're thinking and where their mindset is. And one of the things I like to have people do is identify what 3 words really define who they are as a person, and raising the question, am I living those words congruently? Meaning, if you had a few moments right now, what 3 words could describe your ideal self? And then having the guts to ask, are you living that? If you define yourself as a courageous person, are you really being courageous? If you say you're loving, are you really being loving? If you say you're bold, are you really being bold? If you say you're joyous, are you really being joyous? However you describe your ideal self, are you being that? But also one thing I love to work with my clients on is helping them envision their future self, their future ideas, their future values, their future life, and how they can start moving their thoughts and their behaviors and their feelings in that direction. That means having a purpose and a direction to aim your psychology towards in the first place. I love working with clients on that. So the next area is about physiology. And here's the question on that. Do I feel an extraordinary level of physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual energy? Like the kind of physiological power that I need to get things done? Let's break that down a bit. How is your physical energy? On a scale of 1 to 10, over the last 6 months, have you had the physical energy you needed to succeed? How about your mental energy? Because obviously your mental energy is being impacted by your physical energy. Your physiology is being impacted by your emotions, and your emotions are also impacting your physiology. Isn't it true? How about at the soul level? Do you have that vibrancy and that pop that life deserves? And do you feel it in your body and in your heart? Well, some of these questions can help us drill down and identify areas we need to work on. Are you sleeping as you should? Are you eating and getting the right nutrition and nourishment? Are you exercising and staying disciplined in that area? Are you drinking enough water? And don't forget, physiology is also about how you move. Do you gesture with passion? Do you speak with passion? Are you moving your body in ways that generate the emotions and power you desire of life? Or are you just kind of going through the motions a little bit physically and you're tired all the time? A lot of the coaching that I do is helping people stay a little more disciplined in this area, helping them gain new insights on how they can take better care of their body so they feel better both emotionally and physically. It's a big part of coaching, and you know it, because I bet a lot of times you set some big goals in your health, but you haven't met them yet. That's sometimes one of the greatest reasons to have a coach, is just somebody to keep sort of invested in you and who wants to see you stay disciplined and succeed. And I do a lot of that in my coaching. What about productivity? Let's jump in that area. Some questions for you on productivity are you doing your life's work or just busy work? I work with a lot of people who are really trying to work hard, but sometimes they're working hard at the wrong things. They've never been really clear about how to evaluate the right opportunity for themselves and their family at this stage of their life. So yeah, they're good at tasks or checklists or to-do lists, but maybe they're not on the right path. Another question is, what would it take for you to 5 times your productivity each week based on where you are? Because maybe you are on a path and you are going in the right direction, but you just find yourself sometimes distracted or lost or unfocused or unmotivated, and it's affecting your productivity. So as a coach, we have to work through that. And then I'd love to help you identify what major projects you should achieve in the next 90 days. And how do you achieve those projects with absolute excellence so that you move forward at full pace, at full speed, at your full capabilities? Sometimes you need somebody to talk with every week saying, where are you? Where are you going? Let's work in this area. Let's get you a breakthrough here so you can speed up. That's what I do as a high performance coach, and I hope that you'll ask yourself that question. What major projects should I work on in the next 90 days? Do you know them? Are you staying focused? Are you being as productive as you could? Do you even know what you want to achieve in the next 90 days? Another good area that high performers measure themselves on is the area of people, and specifically people skills. So they ask, have I developed the people skills needed to serve and lead at the next level? See, we all have to develop ourselves so that we can interact with others better. I bet there's people in your life who you really care about, who would love you to have maybe a little more patience or listen better or understand or know how to validate. I'm sure your business requires you to persuade and sell and influence people. So measure yourself there. Are you doing well in that category? And maybe another question you can ask is, can I influence and persuade people at the levels I need to in order to have people believe in me? or buy from me, or follow me, or invest in me, and support me. Because sometimes you just need new conversational strategies. Sometimes you need new ways to approach someone who has been resistant. Sometimes you just need new strategies and tactics of what to say, when to say it, how to go into a persuasion situation, and how to do it well, and then how to follow up effectively. All of the struggles that we experience around our people skills indicate that you just need someone to talk that through with, and I'd love to be here for you to do that. One question I ask to all my clients are you the role model your family needs you to be? When you think about your family or your loved ones or the people who count on you, are you being the role model they really need? And what would that mean? And how would you maintain that congruence? How would you stay on your path but still be a great servant? Sometimes it's just necessary to talk that through, and I'd be happy to do that with you. Now let's jump into presence. This is an important one. It's a simple set of questions including, am I fully engaged in life? Am I really showing up today with full presence, power, vitality, energy, and engaging what's in front of me, including my challenges, my difficulties, and the obstacles? Identify what you are avoiding. Have you been avoiding a tough conversation with your spouse, or with the team, or the kids, or the greater marketplace? Why? Are you clear about those fears and those frustrations? And do you know how to overcome them? What about who needs you on your A game right now? Sometimes we can go through the motions in our lives because we're happy with who we are and we're good where we're at. But sometimes we decide to show up as our absolute best, our highest performing self. When we've got somebody else to serve, when the kids need us, when the spouse is relying on us, when our back is against the wall, and we need to show up for them day after day. Reconnecting with that so that you can show up as your best self is everything. I love this question. What would life feel like if I was more in the now? So many people are trapped in old stories of the past, or they're so obsessed with tomorrow and the future that they're just not happy today. They are not engaged today. They don't feel the level of positive emotional energy they deserve today. They're kind of going through the motions, but they're checked out. So they don't feel their highest level of presence. They know they should be grateful, but it's not sown deep yet. They know they should pay attention and smell the flowers, but the truth is, they haven't felt life in a long, long time. I talk with a lot of achievers, and that's a struggle for them, but there's a lot of great ways to manage your psychology, your physiology, your productivity, and your people skills so that you more consistently show up. All these things really do play together, and they really come together with your purpose. How do you stay on your unique path despite all distractions, despite all the fears, despite the frustrations, despite the times you're tired? How do you stay on purpose so that you feel that you're living purposefully with real intention? That takes a lot of work. High performance asks that all the time. That's one of the great secrets. When I talk about the 6 secrets, these are them. They're mastering their psychology, their physiology, their productivity, their people skills, and their presence and their purpose. They're asking questions like, how do I know what that path really is for me? They're having deep dive conversations with influencers, coaches, or the people around them to identify if they're really heading in the right direction. And they're clear on when they should quit something versus stick with it, because they have mastered the ability to align with their purpose. So if you're in a place where you're saying to yourself, I don't know if I should quit. I don't know if I should start this. I don't know if I should do that. You probably just need a coach. You need to talk with somebody who can guide you through connecting your purpose with how you think, with how you approach your day, with how you interact with other people, with how you show up. That's one of the favorite things I do as a high performance coach, because I want to help you figure out what makes you feel fully alive so that you can truly give. Not the act of giving because you feel obligated, but having a purposeful and generous soul that allows you to give with full power because you're aligned with what is true for you. That you're living your highest and best self. That you are on purpose for who you are and where you want to go. And sometimes you just need somebody keeping you accountable to that, or helping you clarify that and staying with that. I'd love to be that person. So let's talk about your game plan. Let's talk about how I might be able to serve you in these areas and what you might be able to do next. First, I bet you can see that these are very important. I mean, how important are those 6 areas of your life we just covered? They're everything, right? The reason people become the most successful people in the world is because they not only focus on these areas, but they do the diligent work. They invest in themselves. They ask the tough questions. They have the conversations with the third party so that they can think through them, talk it out, figure it out, get challenged, and be held accountable. And if you can do that, you're on the path. So what's your next step in improving? Let's find out together. What I'd love to do is this. Let me spend 60 minutes with you diving into your goals and each of these areas and more. And listen, let's create your game plan. I don't want to charge you any money to do that, because if I've added value to you already, let's now personalize it. Why don't you and I get on the phone and work through these areas and identify specifically where you need to focus over the next coming weeks? Which of these areas might you be able to get some quick wins in from what we learned from the high performance studies to what we know about the 6 areas we just talked about? So let's create your game plan. It's super simple. Just go fill out your free strategy questionnaire at this website, because I want to give a gift to everybody who fills it out tonight. I know that sometimes you're really, really committed and these areas are interesting to you. Don't be a casual person. Don't be a yeah person. Be someone dedicated to excellence. Raise your hand right now to really go to another level. And I want to be able to serve you. So let me do some Q&As right now. In the meantime, what questions do you have about any of these areas we've spoken about right now? Okay, I promise to do some giveaways to those who stayed with us until the end. For each and every person who stayed till the end, I will offer that free strategy call. It's a 1-hour strategy call where we work on your game plan, a personalized game plan. Also, if you fill out that strategy call questionnaire and you send it to me by tonight, I will also send you my Kickstart to Personal Growth guide in your email. This guide is about getting you started on your personal growth journey. It's really a kickstart to your personal growth journey. 5 steps, and I will send you that guide just as a thank you for staying till the end and for participating and for giving me the opportunity to talk to you. So if you are absolutely ready for the next level of success and you have people who are really counting on you, then you know it's your time to seek high performance coaching. Again, just follow these instructions right now. Go fill out the free strategy questionnaire at this website. You need to fill out your questionnaire by 7 p.m. tonight, or you've missed your chance to get the free bonus. So do your homework, listen. Just filling out the questionnaire is going to make you think about really amazing things about your life. The questionnaire itself, think of it like extended homework where you're going to have more breakthroughs. You can turn it into me and schedule time to get me working with you on your life for free. but I want to work with the people who really care about improving their lives, and that's going to take us some time. So fill out the questionnaire, and if you're the right fit, we'll hop on a call and we'll work through some of these areas. We'll do a deeper dive for you, and I'll give you some specific things that you can do right now to start advancing your life, in your career, in your relationships, and in your health. Also, I've got some great high performance habits that we didn't discuss here that we'll share on the free strategy session. So just make sure you go fill out your free strategy questionnaire at this website right now. Do it by 7 p.m. tonight so that I can give you that free bonus I told you about for those who would fill out the questionnaire. Go to the website right now and fill it out by 7 p.m. I appreciate all of you and your dedication and commitment to high performance. I'm looking forward to speaking with you and working on your life specifically. Again, it's a free strategy session. So just go to this website. I can't wait to see you there. Thank you everyone for joining.